Aloha, because it's Briar626 here, and today we're going to be talking about something that's kind of been going around a lot in the Bakugan community, and that is about sync. Now, we're talking about sync and how good sync is. There's a lot of people, and by a lot I mean a lot of people, saying sync is like going to be the next best deck, the next format. When Fusion Force comes out, sync is going to be the deck to play. And I'm here to prove that those ideas are absolutely true. They are completely true because sync is very, very powerful. In my opinion, sync is going to be tier 1 when Fusion Force gets released. Now, like I said, that's my opinion. You can have your opinion, whatever. I think tier 1 is going to be sync and rapid fire. Those are the two you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see those two big decks coming out with Might Mac as well, and a bunch of other decks, but those are going to be the two tier 1s I think that are in tier 1 section there. So we're going to be talking about the sync deck, and now this sync deck I've built ever since the card that has started sync and made sync like extremely good, and that is Howling Shell Bomb. Now, Howling Shell Bomb is a very, very powerful card that made sync viable. Now, the sync factor or everything when it first came out in the Armored Elite set was not good. It just was terrible. It was a terrible mechanic. It just wasn't that great of a mechanic that they had. It had potential. By all means, it had potential, but there just wasn't any good cards that made it good. But Howling Shell Bomb said, hey, cool, sync players, you're going to like this. And we did. We really did. So ever since this was released, I think in Kimbo's video, I think that's what it was. I may be wrong, but I'll put the link down in the video down below if you guys want to check out that video of where the Howling Shell Bomb was first released and that starter deck that we saw. That literally just like, cool, I'm making a deck. And I literally started making a deck that day. And I've still been making the deck. Still been tweaking it out. I think I finally found a good version of the deck. And now, of course, I've been talking to other BakuTubers and some other people as well, kind of just to work out this deck and kind of find out the tweaks and also find out the goods and the bads of this deck. Now, of course, going with this, I'm using 3 factions. I'm using the Darkest, Ventus, and Aquas. You can use different factions. You can use, instead of Ventus, you can use Pyrus, which is a very good option as well. And if you want to see it, let me know down in the comments down below if you want to see that variation, because I do have a build of that one as well. It's just if you want to see it, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll show you guys here. But going on, so the Darkest one I have, it's one of the weakest ones. And that is Krakulus, Darkest Krakulus Ultra. It is a double Helix 601, and if you land on a Helix, you get plus 200 B power. Now, this deck is all oriented around the Helix cores, so being able to play on those Helixes is really, really nice. Now, there's some variants that you can use. Magic Shields is like another big one that you can use. I've started with that and thought that was a good option. I didn't think it was that great of an option because it didn't give me enough Magic Shields that I was going to use. So I stuck with the Helix option, and I think that works a lot better. Even with the minus damage on the cores, that's not an issue in this deck, to be honest with you. I'll show you why when we get to the card, why that doesn't have an issue with the minusing damage cores that we have, because we're all running the 603, 600B power minus 3, which is at the bottom, and I'll show you guys here. And the next character we have is Ventus Ryurazu. Now, this is a new Bakugan that came out, that is coming out here. It is the Green Fist Helix 405, and it has minus 4 damage and plus 600 B power when you land on a Helix core. So this is going to put this, if you land on a 600 Helix, it is going to put you at 1600 B power, which is the highest base B power that we have coming out from Bakugan on a base stats. It used to be Hydra's of being at 15, and then Ryurazu said, get out of here, we make this spot for you. So that's what Ryurazu basically did. Now, it does have 0 damage when this does. Technically, it has -2. Keep that in mind. Even though you don't take negative damage, just know that it's it's -2, because when you add damage to it, you're going to add the negative, you gotta count the -2. So you have to go in, so if you had a +3 and you already had the -2, you're technically at 1 damage instead of 3 damage because of how the minusing works. So just keep in mind on that. But like I said, there's cards in here that makes the minus damage not really matter as big. And then our next one, of course, is the Aquas Hydrus. You kind of got to run them if you're running a Helix and an Aquas. This is the best option to choose for getting that Helix to Green Fist, the 400 B power, 4 damage, and getting 505 on a Helix, which is really, really nice. And like I said, those are like that's like one of the second best Bakugan right now, that has some very high B power output, and it does have that 6 damage after you land on that 6 minus or that 600 minus 3 Helix. So this is like your big damage win type of guy. Now, of course, our cores we have are, that's the side deck, that is going to be 2 fists of +2 -2 to a gear. That's just there just to kind of have in case we need it. You're not going to use it a whole lot. You're going to use the Helixes more than anything. This is just in here in case if you need some type of gear reduction, when you know that you can re-roll and get a gear for free. That's basically what it's in there for. And then, of course, 4 Helixes of the 600 B power and -3 damage, because that's just stationary. You got to have that one. Now, of course, the 3 Bakugan are, like I said, my choice. I didn't say Krakulus on a 600 is 14. He's the lowest one that we have, but you can get pretty high with him anyway. And then, of course, Rerise does have that 0 damage, and so does Krakulus Ultra, also has 0. He's at -2 as well. Like, not a big deal. You can find your way around that, not hard. But let's go ahead and go into the decks. We're going to go ahead and start into the gear section. Now, the one that came out in the Armored Elite set was Vortex Blaster. It's a 3 cost sync. When you play this, you may reveal a card in your hand that costs 5 or more for plus 500 B power, and this has a 100 B power and 3 damage that you get to add on to your Bakugan. So this is really nice to being able to play this and getting to reveal your Howling Shell Bomb or revealing another 5 or higher cost card in your hand, and being able to get that 500, so it becomes basically 603 for that turn, which is really nice to getting that bonus for just 3 energies. And sometimes you can play it for 1 if you land on that gear reduction core. It gets really nice, but you're going to mostly play it with the 3 energies, which still isn't bad because that's really cheap in this deck. It's fairly, it's like even mid-range. You're going to be able to get 3 energies out really easily and pull that off really quickly. Our next one we have is Bahu Mortar. It's a 5 cost, 306, being able to get that good damage, and now it also gives you Shadow Strike. Now, Shadow Strike comes very key in this deck. Being able to have Shadow Strike so that you don't take that -3 on your gear reduction is super, super good. So getting that Krakulus, even though it's at 1 damage, that having that Shadow Strike is going to be really good, because with Bahu Mortar, that's going to put it at 7 damage. Now, when you go into Ryurazu, it will have that 11 damage. Yeah, you heard me. 11 damage on a Ryurazu that has 16. In fact, with the Bahu Mortar, it's going to have 1900 B power with 11 damage. That's really good, being able to have that. Off that, and of course, you can also play this with that gear reduction core to play it for 3 energies. You're not going to really play it for the 3 energies as much. Like I said, the gear reduction cores are not really going to be used as much. You're only going to be using the 5 energies to actually play this card, unless if you could somehow cheese this card out. There's not really a way to cheese this out. But if you could, if your opponent does somehow let you play it for free, whatever the case may be, you can be able to play this. Now, another one. Now, we're going to go ahead and get into flips, because flips are very, very important in this deck. When you can't win, flips are good. And these are mostly going to be your energies during the time, too, because you're going to be drawing them and hitting those the flips, being able to draw them. Go ahead and put them in energy, so you don't have to worry about wasting your good cards in your deck. Now, of course, the first one we have is Obscuring Invade. Now, this stops a Aquas or a Darkest. Now, Aquas Darkest is, of course, going to be very powerful when Fusion Force does come out. So this is going to be a very, very good card, and especially for a 0 cost to stop either one of those, it's going to be very, very good. And I run 2 of those in the deck. Those are really nice. I didn't say Vortex is 3, Bahu Mortar's at 3. It's kind of stationary for that. Now, next one we have is Deep Dive for 1 cost. We do run 1 of these, stopping a Shield and a Helix. Helix is going to be very, very popular still soon. So being able to have that just so you can stop some of those Helixes in case if you don't win that first turn, which I don't know why you can't, because you're running Ventus Ryurazu. He's at 16, and you have cards that can get you in and make sure you win turn 1. So don't know why you need to be doing that, but it's in here just in case if you need it. Then we have Sonic Shield is the other one with the Green Fist, Fire Fist, because Green and Fire Fist are going to be the two next popular ones. Most of that Fire Fist and Magic Shield, really. But that Fire Fist is going to be very popular with the Might Max stuff that's going to be running around here. And playing this for 1 energy, still really good. And our next one we have is going to be Rock Riser. It stops a shield and a magic shield for 1 energy. So you're going to be basically covering every single core that you need to cover with these 3 flips. And you're running 1 of each. So if they're not Aquas or Darkest, you're basically going to be using these as your stops. Which is still really good. And of course you also have Pact of Darkness. It's a Darkest deck, you gotta run 3 Pact. I do run 3 of those, of course, stopping a non-Darkest, discard a card to play it for free. So if you can't use the Obscuring Evades or any of your core stops, you have Pact of Darkness to help do that. Now that is going to be 8 flips. That's okay. I think 8 flips is really good in the deck. I personally think that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get into the actions here. And our first action we have is Baku Treasure. Now, Baku Treasure is a 0-cost card that lets you draw 1. Now, this card is very, very powerful. You may be like, Brian, how is that card so powerful? That card makes you lose life points or lose your deck down so you can lose quicker. You're right. It does. But you don't have to worry about that if you know you're going to win with it. Baku Treasure, basically just playing it right before you roll. After you place on that energy, playing this card to draw that 1 card that you need is very, very vital. Being able to so that you can get to your combo pieces a lot easier. So in case if you have a sync card, but you don't have the card that you need to go off with that sync effect, Baku Treasure says, I got you, fam. And literally go in and go, cool, let's draw that card to make sure we get that card that we need for that play. Then our next one we have is 3 Deep Dive. Now this is a 1-cost, draw a card and you may re-roll your Bakugan. This is another just draw engine of the deck, and you can also get a re-roll. Now this is one of the only re-rolls in this deck. You may be like, Briar, you don't have re-rolls in an Aquas deck. Yes, this is my only re-roll in the deck, for reasons of I know how to roll my Bakugan. I've practiced with them, and when you practice with them, you know what course you're going to hit, and doing all that type of stuff. Then you know that you're not going to miss a whole lot. But in case if you do, you still need a reroll. Deep Dive is that kind of that backup in case if I need it, that reroll, or if I land on that Green Fist to be able to play a gear play that Vortex Blaster for 1, and I have 2 energies. I can then play the Deep Dive to reroll to land on the Helix to even get more B power onto my character. So you can do it that way. It's in there for some help, but mostly for the draw support. Then we have our first card that's sync, and that is Aqua Freeze Beam. This is a 1-cost 200 B power, and it has sync. When you reveal a card that costs 5 or more, then plus 500 B power instead of 200. So being able to reveal a 5-cost or more, aka you can reveal Baku Mortar because it is a 5-cost. You can reveal that, get 500 B power instead of that 2 for just 1 energy. Turn 1, Ryurazu, Aqua Freeze Beam, on point, really good. Being able to get that 500 to then put you at 2100 B power. Now, yes, you may not have the damage to go into it, but that's still getting you to the point where you can get into your team attack a lot quicker. That's mainly the point of Ryurazu, is just going to be able to get into your team attack a lot quicker, and this is definitely going to help out with that. Even during the late game, this is really nice. Our next one we have is Fallen Strike. It's a 0-cost 100 B power, and then you get a sync effect. You may reveal a card in your hand that costs 5 or more for plus 5 damage. So you reveal Baku Mortar, or you reveal the other cards that we'll reveal later on, you'll be able to get plus 5 damage. So getting that off of the Ryurazu, even though it's at -2 damage, you play this, then you now have 3 damage. So getting 3 damage turn 1 is not the greatest, not like what you want, but it is a possibility that you can use. So it could be very, very good using this just to get in that extra damage in case you need it. And getting that 100 B power is actually very, very good. Sometimes you'll have like a what is it, Aquas Hydrus, and you get another Aquas Hydrus. And all you need is just 100 B power to win. Fallen Strike gets you to cover that, and it wins you really, really nicely. Now, the card that I talked to about, that was very, very interesting. I like this card a lot, and no one's really been talking about it. Baku Spring. Now, Baku Spring is a 1-cost Darkest card that plus Shadow Strike, and you get a draw 1. So it's another draw engine of the deck here. and you get Shadow Strike. So using this turn 1 on Ryurazu is going to be really, very good. Using that turn 1 to get that 1 card bonus that you get to draw, so you can have an extra card for the next turn that you can play, or even that turn in case you need it. And then you get Shadow Strike, so that Ryurazu now is going to be at 5 damage for that turn, so which is really, really good. And the nice thing is too, Baku Spring, you can target whatever Bakugan you want. You can target your Bakugan that's already open for later, that was in the early of the game, that you know that you can get more damage with, whatever the case may be. You can target that Bakugan and it gets Shadow Strike. So which is really, really good, being able to play that Shadow Strike onto one of your other Bakugan so that you can get even more damage bonus onto them. Our next one we have is Nature's Power. Now, Nature's Power is a 1 cost. It's from BB. Giving on Ventus Bakugan minus 500 B power. That's really good. Very, very powerful card that we can use. It's a very, very good card in my opinion. I think this is really great. Being able to make sure that you get those wins in the early game is really, really good. Our next one we have is Tusk. Now, Tusk has been a very hyped up card because of Howling Shell Bomb. And rightfully so. It's a very, very good, powerful card. It's a 6 cost, so you can reveal this off of your sync abilities that you have in the deck. But its effect is minus 800 B power. Alright, cool. You target one of your opponent's Bakugan, minus 800 B power. If you have played it if you played a card that costs 5 or more energies this turn, you may play this for free. So being able to play this off of Howling Shell Bomb, then make sure that you get basically 1800 B power over your opponent's Bakugan is really, really nice. And being able to get, because some Bakugan can get in like the 2000s to 3000s. And this basically is the answer for that. So which is really, really nice to be able to play that for free when you play a 5 cost. So you can even play Baku Mortar and being able to play Tusk Guard for free as well, which I have done a couple times, and that has actually won me the game because of it. And then our big card here, Howling Shell Bomb. This is a card that made Sync as good as it is. And it's going to be a 5 cost Darkest Aquas card plus 1000 B power. And if another card that causes you to reveal this card from your hand, you may play it for free. So you can play it for free every time that you have Sync. You can go, cool, play my, play the Aqua Freeze Beam. Cool, Sync, reveal, awesome. I reveal my Howling Shell Bomb. My Shell Bomb will then go off and I can now have plus 1500 B power. Of course, you do have to call that Shell Bomb as you reveal, so you can't like wait till late in the game to play that. You have to play it as it reveals. So if you reveal it, you have to play it after that, right after that. That has to be the next effect that you have to play, if that's the way you want it. If you don't want to play it, that's fine. Just keep it in your hand. You just still have to reveal it. And that kind of goes off with that. Also, one of the new cards, Darkest Shadow, will not trigger this effect off. This will not trigger its effect. As soon as Darkest Shadow reveals, it has to discard at that time, so it will not trigger Howling Shell Bomb, and that was referred to into one of the documents of all the rules that was going on that some of the people have put together with the developers of the game. So that was a nice little ruling. It's a good way to kind of like say Darkest Shadow is still a good card, just it's going to stop Howling Shell Bomb, because we thought Howling Shell Bomb was going to be like the brokenest card to play. This kind of like prevents that from happening. And then our last card. Now this is a new card that come out, and I think it's a very, very powerful card. I think this is probably the best card that's out there that does its job, and that is Baku Slumber. Now Baku Slumber is a Ventus Aquas card that's a 2 cost, and it negates any action card, and its controller energizes it uncharged. So they energize it, and they can't use it as that turn because it is uncharged. So being able to play that 8 cost card or that 5 cost card that you can't play, or well, you can still play Sinkhole against it, but if you aren't able to play it's basically a cheap version of Sinkhole and Absorb, all those types of things right into one, and it's an extremely powerful new negate card. I run 3 of these because this is such a very, very powerful card. It is so good. I've played this against Mac, or not Mac, but played against Midas Cindy's quite a few times, and they like, oh, I can't believe you negated it. Of course, it's just like a Blinding Ink, but better. I personally think this is better than Blinding Ink. If you're access to Aquas or Ventus, play this. I don't think that you should play Blinding Ink if you're playing Aquas or Ventus. Play this in its replacement, because this is just so much better. So yeah, so that is basically the deck, and of course I have a couple other like side things down here, kind of test out. And there's like Darkest Shadow right there that you can kind of see the effect of everything. Kind of just a testing out everything, but this is the final build of it, with the course, and everything like that there. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to click that like button down below. If you do, go and click that bell icon so you guys become a cousin in the family here. And remember, Ohana means family, family song is left behind or forgotten. And I will see y'all next time. Bye!